Checkpoint 1. Secured. Checkpoint 2. Secured. Checkpoint 3. Checkpoint 3 secured. All hands secured. Opening bunker. Welcome to another Wednesday Night Live, folks. Welcome to another Wednesday Night Live. Take a second. Let me put in the comments where you are watching from. I always love to see that. As always, if there's any questions about an Article 5 Convention of States, I will stop what I am doing to answer it to the best of my ability, which is pretty good ability. So you will likely get the answers that you need there. And then I also want to throw into you, just get some stuff out of the way up front so I can get on to the meat and potatoes with Tulsi Gabbard's CPAC speech, as well as a conversation about regulatory agencies and whether or not they're even necessary. What are we even doing? But first, I want to go ahead and just give a shout out to myself. I got my new T-shirt. So if you haven't been following, if you follow me on Rumble or maybe on Twitch or YouTube, you may not have seen because I don't post there like that. But I have launched a few new T-shirts into the gallery there. These two are Article 5 based, and then my favorite is the Make Civics Great Again. Social Studies Sucks. So those are available. You can go to www.thepatriotthinktank.com and click on the shop to get to the Etsy store. So now that I got those things out of the way, I just want to remind anyone who has not followed me on X yet to head over to X if you're not already on, and go ahead and give me the link is in the descriptions, so you can, except YouTube, just learned today, YouTube will not allow my links to be clickable. So if you're watching on YouTube, you have to actually copy the link and paste it. But nonetheless, the link is there. It's at Patriot Think Tank. That's at Patriot with one T, so in the middle. So you can see it right here. It's Patriot. And then the same T at the end of Patriot is the same T that is the beginning of Think. They made me do that years ago when I first started it. Now that I'm actually using it, I don't want to make another one. So, but we've been at it for 2 months. We gained, if the 20 people who joined last week are on board and watching this today, welcome to the broadcast. I do highlight as many chats as I can on screen and try to address them. Some days are slow, some days are busy with chat, so just depending. But this is a good time for the channel if you're a chatter, or if you want questions answered live, because I'm able to facilitate that right now. So on to Tulsi Gabbard. So you may have seen Tulsi Gabbard's CPAC speech, and a lot of people were saying, what a great speech, what a great speech. And I did, well, let me say it wasn't a bad speech. If she did not call this nation a democracy or democratic republic no less than 10 times. I'm actually about to release a separate video just on this topic, which I will give you a sneak peek of here, at least of the meat and potatoes of that video, because I went and took clips. That's how I know it's 10. I watched it through and took clips of every time she did it.
Our democracy is under attack.
That's one. That's one.
The perpetrators of this attack are those who, in the name of saving our democracy, are destroying it.
That's two.
And they have no respect for our fundamental rights as citizens of this democratic republic. In the name of protecting democracy and saving us from ourselves, they're actually destroying our democracy and taking away our freedom.
Is it 5?
Telling themselves that they need to destroy our democracy in order to save it.
And 6.
Our democratic republic is being destroyed by the permanent Washington elite. Foreign dictators are afraid of democracy.
That one didn't count.
Our democracy is under attack, and it's up to us to save it.
8.
In both parties, that those who abuse their power and undermine our democracy and our freedom,
That's 9.
and that democracy as we know it will be finished.
The number of the day is 10.
All right, so 10 times, no less than 10 times, 2 of them being the infamous Democratic Republic. So I just want to say it again. I don't hate people for doing stuff like this. I understand that it's ignorance, but what the people that I truly loathe, and I like Tulsi Gabbard. I just think that she needs to get this fixed, like as does Donald Trump, by the way, and Tucker Carlson. So in the video I'm going to drop, I use their quotes in there as well when they do it. Everybody does it, and it drives me insane. However, now I am seeing more and more people over the course, it was a few years, I don't know exactly when, maybe 5 years ago when this really started to irk me. And I talk about it on the channel a lot, and it bothers me. I'll get into it quickly with you, the difference between them for those that are wondering and saying, but isn't democracy? I mean, we vote, right? So, like, for those that don't understand the significance of why this matters, I will get into it. But, just from the standpoint of Tulsi Gabbard, who will probably never watch this or the other video that I'm going to release, the speech wasn't, I mean, she was spot on. If you just replace the word democracy with republic each time and just replace democratic with constitutional, then she's fine. The speech was excellent. So you might say to yourself, well, George, why are you getting upset? Why are you getting your feathers all ruffled over? I mean, it's just a technicality. It's not a technicality. Like, what I'm here to tell you now, you can comment your thoughts on this as you wish, and I will highlight them. Even if you're bashing me, I don't care, because I'm right. I am absolutely right. The words matter, folks. Okay, words. The reason we are in the problem, the reason that the nation is in the situation that it is in right now, is because of words. All right, it is because Marxists have capitalized and taken over language. And what I mean by that is they've redefined just about anything they want to turn around and manipulate situations and people's way of thinking. The fact is, this manipulation began so long ago and had gone on so long without being challenged that it now is a part of the common culture. It's now spoken by just about everyone. All right, and it's the reason it's spoken by everyone, and why did it matter to them, right? Why does it matter to them that we call this a democracy and that we think this is a democracy? Why? Because they want us to believe that this is a democracy. A democracy is far easier to knock down and conquer, far easier than a constitutional republic. The reason why we have not fallen yet, the reason why we don't have hate speech laws, the reason why we're able to hang on to these values and the Bill of Rights, etc., is because we are a constitutional republic. If we were a democracy, those things would simply, at this point in the game, would not exist. What do I mean by that? So in a democracy, you go ahead and you vote, yes, and you do so in a constitutional republic as well. You vote for your elected representatives. The similarities end there. That's where it ends. Because in a democratic republic or a democracy, what ends up happening once you vote is that your leaders now have the authority to speak on your behalf. And you say, well, George, what's wrong with that? Well, there are a lot of things wrong with that. Number one, they can use the vote that they've gotten from the majority to get themselves in office. They can use that vote to vote away the rights of other people if they want to, as they did in the UK. In the UK, you now have to be careful what you say, where you say it, and who hears it. Because if you're not, you could find yourself getting a hefty fine, being arrested. It just depends how much they hate you. In the United States, that cannot happen. And you may say, well, George, what about all the the attacks on free speech in the Second Amendment? I would say the Constitution is held up pretty damn well. They look. No one knows better than me. I get shadow banned personally, so I know exactly what it is. I can see that when I'm on a platform like Rumble with 680 followers, God bless them, that I might get 12, 15, 20 views simultaneously on a given stream, okay, while I'm live, not like the cumulative after the fact. if I'll be on Facebook with 18,000 followers, and that will not be the case. Right now on Facebook, there are 3 people I have watching this feed, which is a little bit lower than normal, but it usually doesn't go higher than 10. On Rumble, there are 12. 18,000 followers, 3 people. By accident, you would get more than that. But it's well documented. Zuckerberg actually made it company policy now to shadow ban. So we know that happens. And I'm still here. Like, I haven't walked away. I'm still here. All right? Because I don't care. Like, to me, this is what... To me, I'm trying to make the move over to X, right? So I'm trying to make it. It's slow, and I know what it is to build from scratch, even if you have 18,000 followers, because they don't all get to see, like, they'll pop in from time to time, to check out your page, but they don't get to see the full gist of your content, even though they chose to follow you. So the government, and that's, if you don't think that's coming from the government, you just need to read the Twitter files. It absolutely is. And it's not Zuckerberg's evil. Well, he might be evil. I don't want to say that either. But in the end, he's doing this out of fear of government. That's what he's doing this out of. If you think he really cares what people are saying and what's going on, you think he cares that I'm here advocating Article 5 or that I have rants against the WEF, that's just not something that happens. But he's going to put these shadow bans in place with automatic algorithms that pick up keywords that I say often, apparently. But he can't stop me from going to Rumble. He can't stop me from migrating to X. He could slow me down, maybe. But he can't stop me. Why? Because we have a constitution in place that protects my speech. That's why. As much as the government might like to shut someone up who's talking about Article 5 all day, they can't do it. Now, is it illegal for what they're doing through Twitter? And yes, it's illegal. It absolutely is violating the Constitution. There's no doubt. However, just the fact that the fact that everybody in power right now is on board with it means it's going to take time before that can be dealt with, because the courts are clearly not ready to deal with it. Eventually, that may make its way to the Supreme Court, but that's neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is they can't stop me from speaking. And that matters. That's a constitutional republic. You could talk about all these restrictions they put on. How long have they been trying to disarm this population, and how long have they been failing? Now, you could sit here and say, well, California and many states have a 10-round magazine ban and stuff, right? But that's about to get overturned. You know where that started? You know where that first judgment, before it went to appeals and back and forth, and it's getting ping-ponged around a little, before it finally gets to the Supreme Court? You know who started that? A judge in San Diego, right here in the People's Republic of California. You know why that's possible? You know why they can't just disarm the public? Because we're not a democracy. That's why. They can't disarm the public because we are not a democratic republic. We're a constitutional republic. See, as I explained earlier, when Democrats get put into office, or not Democrats, but when through just a democracy, when people are elected into office, there's nothing stopping them from doing anything they want. They're there by the people. They're there by the popular vote. As long as they're in office and they were duly elected, they could do whatever they want. Our representatives can't, not without breaking the law. So, and because the law is not endowed it's endowed on us by our Creator, right? Like, our rights are endowed on us by our Creator. They are not endowed on us by government. And they're beholden, in a legal sense, they're given to us through the Constitution, not through the federal government. So could we technically vote our rights away? We could, if we wanted to amend the Constitution as such. As we know with Article 5, that's not an easy process. And we know with every other amendment that's ever been done, it's not an easy process. And you would have to get 3/4 of the states to agree to circumvent their own rights, to surrender their own rights. That's what you would need. That's essentially what you would need to do. And since there are some 23 or 24 states in this country where you could walk into a courthouse with an open carry, Yeah, I don't see anything happen to the Second Amendment. I don't see anything getting ratified there. It's just not going to happen. So it's an important difference. And it's important not just that you understand it, it's important that you act on it. It's important that you go ahead and you take action. If you hear something, say something. If you hear somebody bastardizing our system of government like that, say something. Like, I'm not bashing Tulsi Gabbard, but I think that she should know. I think that if she really does believe, like most people who say it's a democratic republic don't know and then go Google it. That's what happens. They don't know. They're not sure. They keep hearing these people arguing back and forth with them about whether or not we're a constitutional republic or what. And then once they do, well, once they finally, all right, you know what? Let me just go look this up. They go to Google and they get Democratic Republic out of Google. I had teachers do this right in front of me. They went and Googled it and then tried to turn around and tell me it was a Democratic Republic. And they don't know what a democratic republic is. They don't know what a constitutional republic is. They don't know why it matters. And it does matter. And if we're going to take the republic back, we at least should know that it's a republic and not a democratic republic. Blues Lover Gal, how are you today? Welcome to the broadcast. Comment over from Rumble. Thank you. You're absolutely right about Tulsi. I like her a lot, but she needs to change the lingo. She sounds too much like them. Yeah, and the thing is, Blues Lover, I could tell you. Look, I did a video on this, right? And it was, I forget the gentleman's name now. It was from like 1966, black and white video. You probably saw it. About a month after I did the video, I started seeing that video all over the place. I don't know if that's an algorithm thing or what, but basically I did a video on this and I took clips from different people who, just as examples to start off. And like every time they said the word democracy, like a red X would come up with a buzzer. And Trump is on that list. Okay. He does it all the time. He does it all the time. And it doesn't make me hate Trump. It's just like, why? It's such an easy thing to understand and do. And it's such a small, and it's such a patriotic move to do. Like, we lost civics in the late 60s. This is why. Which is why I have the Make Civics, I put up that t-shirt, comes up right after these, to Make Civics Great Again, because, and social studies sucks. It's a hashtag social studies sucks. And the reason I created that t-shirt, and mine is showing up shortly. Get that out of there. Mine is showing up shortly. And the reason I created that t-shirt was for the simple reason that people don't even understand that. They don't even understand that social studies was not an accident. There was no benefit to social studies. It was designed to cut out like 75% of the civics curriculum and replace it with all kinds of bizarre historical fallacies or misinterpretations. And we've gone on for 60 years like this, to the point where, and I'm not going to sit here holier than thou either. I had my calling this a democracy days too. I've been interested in politics for a very long time, and the fact of the matter is, I've been there. I get it. I'm not killing people for it. But like, now that like you watch some, if this even matters, it means you're watching this. Therefore, you now know. Like, the very first time this was ever presented to me, I stopped calling it a democracy. And that's what I'm asking of other people. I don't care if you're Democrat. I don't care if you're a Republican or if you're like me and you realize that both of them hate you. Wherever you stand, it doesn't make a difference. The fact of the matter is, this is a constitutional republic, and it matters. Please don't be that person that just blows it off and says, oh, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, we do vote, right? Like, I mean, really, they get into arguments with you as if, like, it's not even, and they try to back it up with this nonsense. I've had people send me articles written by some doot-to-doo, like trying to explain that we are a democratic republic. It's like, this is not a debate. And Tulsi Gabbard, like, if she's going to be in the club, if she, maybe she, I don't think she's in the Republican club. Like, I don't think so. I think she's above that. I think she's figured that much out, that they're dirtbags too. I think she's figured that out. I don't know for a fact. But for her to walk away from the Democratic Party, I give more credit to people that walk away from the Democratic Party than I do to people who walk away from all the BS and nonsense on the right. Because they're all the same. It's the same nonsense. The powerful people back east that tried to bribe Kerry Lake, those people, you think they care about Republicans and Democrats? They don't care about Republicans and Democrats. The powerful people back east, they're worried about power. That's all they're worried about. Bob Dorbin, how are you, Bob? Over on Facebook, their definition of democracy is socialism. Yeah, well, you know what? Democracy's not that far off. I mean, it's not central power over an economy, but everything is voted on. It's tyranny of the majority. It ends the same way. I guess that's a better way to say it. It ends the same way. You live your entire existence one cult of personality away from losing everything. In a constitutional republic, that can't happen, right? You get that? You think if Obama didn't have the Constitution shackling him down, that we wouldn't have seen some crazier stuff come out of that administration? Seriously. I mean, they can vote themselves anything. They can vote themselves into oblivion. They've got both sides of the aisle. I mean, the stuff that the Republicans vote for, I mean, the fact that it was even this big deal that McCarthy be removed just tells you there's like 200 some odd people out of 215 in the House of Representatives on the red side who don't like you. Who don't like you, who are slaves to the game, and they don't like you. That's the bottom line. You've got about 10 people in there, maybe 15 or so, who actually care about their constituents. The House of Representatives doesn't even talk about its constituents anymore. I heard Matt Gaetz talk about his constituents when he was explaining why he was doing what he was doing with respect to McCarthy, and I swear to you, I fell out of my chair. It's like the first time I've heard a House rep talk about their actual constituents, and I don't know how long. Everything with them is this national picture. It's always these YouTube videos of Chip and you know the rest of them sitting there, you know, grilling somebody over some nonsense. Never goes anywhere, never does anything, but I never hear them actually say, "Here's what my constituents want." Like, I don't care about every other district in this country. I am here. Like, this republic is designed to function as such where the only people that I'm concerned about are the people in my district. That's why there's so many of us here in this house. That's the whole point. I mean, what do you think I advocate Article 5 so hard? Because the government's so structurally broken, it doesn't, like thinking you can elect your way out of a tyranny like this is ridiculous. You just can't do it. It's just impossible. In the end, yes, elections are a big deal. Yes, the President of the United States is a big deal, but he's not going to save us. Like, if you're going through life thinking that all you got to do is get Trump elected, like I listen to people like, if Trump does, you know, if something happens and Trump doesn't get this, it's all over anyway. No, it's not. No, it's not. Yes, we absolutely need to get Trump elected at this point, but the fact of the matter is, it's not over. We don't just throw in the towel and fall back on the Second Amendment and everyone get a bunker. People feel that way because they don't understand civics. And again, that's by design. They don't understand civics. They don't know that the power is really ours. They're out there talking about the government's a corporation, it's this and that. Like really? Like, it's not hard to figure out. You sit back and you just look, okay? Let's say the convention starts. Let's say this year's a huge year. There's 18 on the ballot. That's enough to cross the finish line, because that'll put us well over 34. And then we go ahead and we call this convention. We get amendments coming out of it proposed. They propose a solid term limits amendment. They propose a solid amendment for a balanced budget and fiscal restrictions, and they pass a significant amendment or two on shutting down regulatory agencies and keeping it back to elected officials. Let's say that goes through. Let's say that goes through, and America is a corporation, and that behind the scenes there are these big, the Rothschilds, and that's the biggest one, right? The Rothschilds have all these agreements in place with the U.S. government that secretly, all of that's going on. What do you think's going to happen? What do you think the potential for the United States, after putting through a slew of amendments that shackle the federal government's power domestically? What do you think is going to happen? You think the Rothschild? You think the U.S. is going to make good on whatever promises they made behind the scenes? You think that's going to work out? No, the Rothschilds don't have an army. Period. Like the constitutional republic is as strong as it says it is. There's no hidden this and hidden that. And even if there are, the reality is doing it behind closed doors makes it invalid, because the American people no one will follow it. No one will follow it. And that's the bottom line. No, they won't follow it because it won't be legitimate. And why? Because we don't take orders from presidents. We don't deal with kings and queens and presidents, and we don't deal with that here. When it's all hitting the fan, it's the Constitution that we go to. Not the president, not the Supreme Court. And if we don't like what the Supreme Court's doing, that's what Article 5 is for. Because people misnomer Article 5 all the time, like this is some, like it's presidents who got us into these messes. Like it's Obama who got us into this mess, or it's Bush, or what. No, it's not. It's the Supreme Court that got us into this mess. The Supreme Court is the one who gave the power. They're the ones, through decision after decision. This is how we got regulatory agencies. There's nowhere in the Constitution that gives the federal government the authority to regulate work safety. They made that crap up. They made it up. And the ones that were challenged, like the Commerce Clause and such, the Supreme Court has laid out such a broad definition that everything falls under it. Well, there's only one way. So, there is a way to overturn the Supreme Court. They're not the final word. But nobody understands it. Nobody knows it. Nobody understands it. Nobody wants to take action. We've been letting them tax our income for what now? It's over a century. 110 years, 111 years. We're letting them tax our income, which they were trying to do for decades before that, but never could because it was unconstitutional. So what did they do? What did the progressives do when they kept getting shot down in the court? They went ahead, waited decades for the environment to be perfect. Woodrow Wilson comes in, worst president in American history by far, comes in and creates an environment. Whatever went on behind the scenes, but he gets the 16th and 17th Amendment passed, two incredible setbacks that would change the course of the next century. Well, they could be overturned. They can be overturned. But the government, if you look at the 10th Amendment and you just look at what it says, it's like the beauty of the Constitution is the simplicity in the language. Very simple. Handwritten, very simple. You don't need to go to Clause 16, Section 6, Verse 7. You don't got to do all that. But it clearly states that any power not given to it in that document to the federal government belongs to the states. Yet, somehow, the federal government is all up in education. What authority is there to create a Department of Education? Like, we don't even know how broken this system is. Like, some of this stuff has been going on for so long that like it was normal to our grandparents. And I'm talking about Gen X, even boomers. These things have been going, these injustices have been taking place in so many different levels and so many different injustices for well over a century. And nobody understands it. Like at the time that we should understand it, right? We've got every generation, pretty much every generation alive. I mean, there's still some silent generation folks left, right? The greatest generation, still some of them left. But aside from that, I mean, they're all in their 90s now, right? So we're talking those of us who are left. All of us have been miseducated. All of us have been deprived. There might be a handful, that went to school I guess boomers. There are some boomers who might have gone to school that still had civics, but let's face it, the boomers were the first ideologically subverted generation. The hippies were a freaking hot mess. The Soviets were celebrating through the roof with the hippies. And we all sit there and think that we're, this whole way through, we all think that somehow we're special. And we are special. We just don't know why. And we've been taught that we're not. We've been taught that not only are we not special, not only have we been taught that the great American experiment was an abject failure, but they go further than that to try and take it down. And the whole way through, all through the 70s, 80s, 90s, people like me and you just sat there and went, that'll never happen in America. That'll never happen in America. That'll never happen in America. Meanwhile, it was happening. And then we get to this place that we're at now because we're not paying attention. And then it's like, well, how did this happen? Well, it happened because none of us were listening. And what kills me is so many of us are still not listening. Like, it's one thing for youth to get sucked into this movement because that's who they're targeting. But if you're a grown-ass man, if you're a grown-ass woman, and you're going through life thinking this can't happen in America, this can't happen, I mean, what the hell? What do you need to happen? What do you need to happen? So, Tulsi, just figure it out, all right? Tulsi, Trump, Tucker, all of you. All of you. It matters, especially coming from you guys. It matters. It's a big deal. Sitting here listening to my mic is coming through my little headset here. I tried to move all the audio over to it, but that's really strange that just happened. But okay, whatever. The point of the matter, look, and I see what you guys are thinking, right? And I'm thinking the same thing. I'm just, I read through comments under her speech, right? Because I always try to read through comments on conservative stuff because sometimes sometimes you find a little nugget in there, a good gem, good story, good point being made, and I will say to our credit, and as I said before, I am hearing more people now call people out on this. Like when I watch that, like if you're in that mode, right, and this matters to you, you'll watch that speech. The whole speech, you're just like, what again? Like you can't even focus on what she's saying because that bothers you so much. And there are some people who went into the comments and immediately made that point. Like I went in right away and started typing. When I got done, I went through, started looking through them, and I did see some other people made that point as well. And it was good to see. 1912, 1913, Wilson screwed us actually at Christmas Eve. Yeah, Christmas Eve was for those that don't know what he's saying here with Christmas Eve, that's when Woodrow Wilson signed the Fed into existence when nobody was looking. I think it was actually the day before Christmas Eve. But nonetheless, he picked a day. That's the point. He picked a day that no one was going to be paying attention, and poof, you wake up on Christmas morning, and there's your gift. You got the Fed. You got the Federal Reserve. Good job, Woodrow. Not to mention the 17th Amendment, for those of you who don't know, is where the states ceded their power to the federal government. If you're not aware, we're not supposed to be electing senators, federal senators. They're supposed to be appointed by our local legislatures. But that's a problem for progressives, because if they appoint them, then they can pull them out. So then we can go to our local legislatures and smaller districts, which are much harder to manipulate because the numbers are smaller and it's far more clear when something's tampered with, which was the whole point. But the whole system is designed so that you can go to your local legislator and tell him, hey, this Mitt Romney guy, I don't know what the hell this doo-doo is doing, but he's got to get out of there. Send him to the coconut yard. We're done with this guy. Liz Cheney, you're out of there. You freak. Get out of there. That's supposed to be a power, but no, now, thanks to progressives, Marxists, right? Thanks to them and a bunch of weak state legislatures, they ceded that right over. Major win for the Marxist movement. Another one that can be addressed in this convention, right? In this convention. 3 topics are government overreach, term limits, and fiscal restraints. Government overreach covers that cleanly. Cleanly. That's a state power issue. Federal government, no play here. Now, do we know that that's going to be what comes out of it? We don't know. We don't know. I would love to see that amendment, though. I would love to see it. Will we? Who knows? The fact of the matter is, though, and I say this all the time when it comes to a convention, the only thing that matters is getting the process completed. First and foremost, that is the most important thing. Whether I get all my wish list of amendments or not, which I'm sure that there are many I won't, the fact of the matter is getting the process completed now changes the relationship between the federal government and the people forever. Forever. Right? We're going to have this border situation. If we had already gone through this process from soup to nuts, all right, regardless of what the outcome was, if we had already done this, the border situation would be an easy fix. The American people, again, the ones with the power locally through the states, through our local legislatures, we're the ones with the power. And the fact of the matter is, we would just start convening and say, look, this is a crisis. This is an invasion. We need, if the government is not going to do its duty, then we need to take that power away from the federal government. And I guarantee you that if there were a separate convention called just on that topic and it got to around 25, I guarantee you the military would be on the border the next day. If there's anything the federal government cannot stand, and the Marxists cannot afford, is that the federal government lose more power. There is nothing that scares a Marxist more than a power-restricting convention of states held by the United States. Every ability that's taken away from them is a loss for Marxism. Because in order to have Marxism at all, it requires not just a strong, but an all-powerful central government. It's a requirement. This great American experiment has caused more problems for these people. They've taken over countries as big as the Soviet Union and China in a matter of a year, 2 years. We're now going on 70 years of them trying to do this, and they cannot get it done. They've gotten it to the point where where they've miseducated, they've taken over the schools they're so embedded in the schools, we now have children walking around thinking men can have babies. Like, we have a younger generation who believes there are an infinite amount of sexes and you can just change your sex like that. Like, that's how embedded they are. But at the same time, they're not really making any ground. I mean, that's real talk. They're just not making any ground. They've made ground in those areas, and we all look at that and we all say, oh, well, that's, I mean, you think that's not making ground, making kids believe? No, it's not. Like the idea that they're like, yeah, it's making ground, but it's not. It's not moving. It's still impossible to turn this country Marxist by the system that we're in. So the reason this all started is because they realized they couldn't beat us militarily. Now, is the embedded nature of them in our military a concern? Yes. Yes, that's a concern. But that's a problem that can be fixed with an election. Like that's a problem that, one Donald Trump or one Ron DeSantis or, hopefully both, hopefully Trump then DeSantis, right? We get 12 years. You only need 2 years, 1 year. You need really a few days to just clean house. Or just remove people. You can still refer to them for counsel, but they ain't getting access to anything. And who do you get rid of? You get rid of all the people that have been there forever. But George, those are the experienced people. Those are the people we're fine. We're fine. I mean, our government is so busted right now, is so broken. What do you think? Even Donald Trump would not release the Kennedy files. Like, what do you think that conversation with Pompeo was like? Can you imagine? Can you imagine what that conversation with Pompeo was like? So it's like, Voice of America over on Rumble. How are you, sir? No Tulsi. Yeah, you know what? I don't have a problem with Tulsi. I really don't. I have a problem with what she did in the speech. I like Tulsi Gabbard. I don't, look, I talked about this a little bit earlier. Like, if you walk away, if you fully, like, the kind of person that I tend to like and I tend to gravitate to is the kind of person who asks questions. The kind of person who is not, they don't follow in the sense of they follow even when things don't make sense. Like, and that's what happened to Tulsi. Is that she was in the game, she's surrounded by, she's in an echo chamber, she's seeing, and then she starts moving up in the game and starts realizing like things don't make sense and why are we doing this and why are we doing that. I'm sure 2020 had a major impact on her, and she has a requirement that things make sense. And as a core trait, that's a thing for me. Right? Now, do I want her to be vice president of the United States, which is what I think I'm hearing, from Rumble and now YouTube, right? No, I don't want her to be the vice president of the United States. However, I will say that Trump is notorious for just surrounding himself with the worst people ever. I can count on one hand people that will not sell him down the river that he's put in power. From Barr to Pompeo to, the list goes on, right? What was his name? The first DOJ, the head of the DOJ had, like, immediately removes him because the guy just turned on him for Hillary. Like he just surrounds himself with, and then replaces them with more bad people. And I could chalk that up to say, all right, look, maybe he just didn't realize just how deep this swamp is. That's fair. That's fair. But I hope that's the case because, Rudy Giuliani to me is an American patriot. I don't care that they tried to turn this guy into a clown and do whatever. I grew up in New York City under the Giuliani. Well, I grew up earlier than Giuliani, but I was there when Giuliani came in. And the fact of the matter is the difference in his leadership in that city was noticeable. Like it's the only time in my life, really, where a politician did something or changed something that was tangible, that I got onto a subway and it was clean and it didn't smell like piss and the train that showed up was not covered in graffiti. Like, I was blown away by it. I used to come back for the summers when I came back for college, and I came back one summer. It was the 92, I think it was 91, maybe, I forget. But anyway, I came back for the summer and it was quick, dude. It was like he got in and it was like 6 months later, everything was fixed. Stuff that they were talking 30 years they couldn't fix. That dude's beast mode. There are some good people around him, but the fact of the matter is he's been betrayed by every single person, and the reason for it is the only qualification for him is that you basically kiss the ring. and that you tell him how much you love him and how much you admire him and how great he is. And I'm not trying to insult him. He's just a mega narcissist, and that's been it. So like Pompeo, I'm sure was like, you know, you got an opportunity to do something big here. You know, you're going to need somebody like me with this experience that's been around. And you know what? I think you're doing a phenomenal job. I just think you're awesome. I just think you're great. You're in. And then Pompeo sells him down the road. Then friggin' Barr sells him down the road. Like all these people swore to him that they were going to be, that they loved him and this and that. And then they just turned around and knifed him in the back. So would it be a bad thing to have Tulsi Gabbard? Do I think Tulsi Gabbard is that kind of person? No, I don't. No, I don't. I just don't. Some people get, and I've done this. I've gone down many rabbit holes since 2020, especially, and I've gone down many rabbit holes, and I understand that there are some people out there who there's no scenario that they'll always have a twist that somebody is on the take and that they're a plant, or that like deep state's got people so effed up in the head that like there's no solution, there's no anything that could ever be valid, because it'll always be somebody's a plant, somebody knows better, somebody this and that. And in the end, like, that's just not true. Like, yeah, deep state's a beast, no doubt. But they're not even smart, these people. Like, let's not even give them the credit of calling them smart. These are not the sharpest tools in the shed. The only thing they have on their side is the ability to hold back documents and redact them. That's all they have. If you had an opportunity to really see the stuff that gets redacted in a lot of these documents, trust me, the conclusion would be these people are idiots. They're not smart. Bob Dorbin. Hold on here. I got to shrink this a little. It's getting in my face. So I'm going out on a limb. I think after Fat Tuesday, Nikki is going to drop out, then switch to Democrat. They like traitors. Then she can get more Coke money. She'll be planted in Biden's place. Yeah, I don't know that the Cokes are donating too heavily to the Democrats, but Nikki's not going to the Democrats. Like my take on Nikki Haley is pretty simple at this point, because there's no reason. Like, it's one of those Occam's razor things, right? Like, I mean, when you look at the possible scenarios that there could be for her to still be in this race, she got buried in her own home state. So what on earth could keep this woman going? What on earth, right? But somebody's funding this campaign, right? Because the donors at this point would normally be like, all right, you're dead. I'm not throwing bad money after, I'm not throwing good money after bad, right? But they are. There's still money coming in. I don't know where from. I don't know where from, but I got a couple of guesses, right? I mean, to me, Nikki Haley is in this race because the powerful people back east, right? We all remember them from the tapes when DeMint was trying to bribe Carrie Lake. Those powerful people back east got their hands in everything, and I guarantee you, whether Nikki Haley even understands it or not, that the people that are encouraging her to stay in this are people who fully believe that these powerful people back east are going to be successful in their venture to get rid of Donald Trump. That's real talk. And that she's being told, stay in. He's not going to be in long. He's going to fall out. And I don't think it's going to happen until after the primary. Like, whatever the hell it is they got planned, right? I think most people who watch this are cautiously going into 2024 like, is this the year I finally should start prepping? Is this the year that, like, because it's not bad. It's not bad advice to prep anyway for emergency, but the idea that an emergency may very well come about magically right around the election, if it's not better this year than any other year, I can't tell you, I mean, the idea that clearly they don't want Trump in office. Like, if you're not one of these mind-melded sheep who just, still sitting there thinking, there's the Republicans are the good guys and the Democrats are the bad guys, or you're a Democrat thinking the Democrats are the good guys. And like, if you're still that person, again, I don't know what to do for you, but the reality of the matter is, once again, the powerful people back east, whoever they are, these people have no interest in Donald Trump as the president, and they've broken just about every freak. They've thrown just about every trick, every classic that you can get. Right? They've tried the womanizer thing. They've tried the sexual harassment. They've tried to the financial stuff. They're trying. I mean, they're going every single thing that would have killed any other candidate. They're trying to throw at this guy, and all it does is make him stronger, and they know it, but they try it anyway because they got nothing left. And that's what I'm saying to you guys when I say, like, the deep state is not as scary as everybody thinks it is. These people have a limited tool set, all right? And yeah, it's a powerful tool set, but it's limited. And once the power is taken away from it, which is what Trump has done, there's nothing. They have nothing. I mean, Tucker says he thinks that Trump should fear assassination. That's not a completely unreasonable. I mean, everyone made fun of him. It's not completely unreasonable. It's obvious these people want him out, and it's obvious that nothing in their bag of tricks works. He's immune to all of it. So then what? What happens then? Right? I mean, think about it, right? What are you going to be thinking if there's major power outages across the U.S. just before the election, or and they have to take emergency measures to make sure everyone has an opportunity to vote, right? Like you can't. The idea that that's so predictable right now, and is very possible to happen anyway. And the Brett Bairs of the world, and the Fox News people, and the CNN and MSN, they'll still sit there and be like, all right, so looking at you like you're crazy when they're interviewing you, like, so you think deep state created this emergency? As if it's not like blatantly out. Like, we're being gaslit on a level that's just absolutely stunning. But nonetheless, they're gaslighting us, and they could care less. They're looking you right in the face and telling you the sky is red. And when you say that's ridiculous, no, it's not, it's blue, they're like, no, it's red. And just staring at you. No, it's blue. No, it's red. And they'll just keep doing it. And it's like, I say it's red, and what are you going to do about it? And this, again, this is why I advocate Article 5. It's like, what are you going to do about it? Without Article 5, there's nothing you can do about it. Go ahead. Who's the tough guy, right? You get the tough guys out there. Well, I got my, they got a house that's full of freaking, full of weaponry, right? Every type of model of gun. I mean, I got a couple of Glocks and a shotgun myself. But you got these people with these full collections who are like, I'm ready to go, blah, 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 blah. Like, and the bottom line is they want you to go. They want you to put that entire weapons chest to full use. Why? Because now they can arrest you. Like the second people start to take violent action is the second they will be rounded up, herded, and never seen from again. That's what will happen. Like, did you miss recent events? Like there's no fighting back physically to the federal government. I mean, for something to get to that level, they would have to literally, try to put in martial law and start storming the streets, and for it to get to that level. The idea that the American people are going to start a revolution in that way, like, why would you? Why on earth would you? When we have this, why would you? It's completely unnecessary. Completely unnecessary. We could change the entire dynamic and course just by getting this convention done. And now having the power, and then having the power to hold another one if we want. Like, it's just that muscle flex. That's all that's needed. That's it. All right. So I wanted to talk a little bit about regulatory agencies. I saw So, I mean, I was going through a list of agencies, about 194 that I counted. There might be more, but they're about 194. And I thought to myself, do we really need this? Do we really need regulatory agencies on a federal level? Like, are these not all tasks that can be handled locally? Like, virtually everything that these agencies do, with the exception of those that are designed to run systems in the federal government, like Veterans Affairs, things like that. Like, if you're a veteran of the military, that's a federal. I get it. You're going to want people managing benefits. You need something for that. Not that there probably couldn't be tons of money streamlined out of that or dispersed to veterans, but the fact of the matter is there are some like that, but the overwhelming majority are ridiculous. Labor, they get into fields of labor, education, and each one of these topics has like a list of agencies that fall, environment, work safety, like all of these things can be handled at a local level. None of these things need to be handled at a federal level. And of course Article 5 handles that, right? Because under the government overreach topic, right? Regulatory agencies can they're the primary target. They're the primary target. So the bottom line is whether or not you're looking at it from a perspective of, but what I like this agency or we need that agency, you're wrong. You're wrong. Any agency that doesn't fall under a category in the Constitution needs to go. Everyone. Every single one. Over on Facebook, the reason Trump is going to the border tomorrow, then Slow Joe decided to go to Brownsville same day. It's more than political. It's also Leap Day. It shouldn't exist. It shouldn't exist. Yeah, look, I mean, it's good that Trump go to the border. I guess it gives him some hope there and maybe for morale and things like that. Biden going on the border is like, really now? Why now? Like, but go, let him go. I hope they let him have it when he gets there. I hope people are freaking letting him have it. This dude's going to be going through Texas. I know Austin is a lost cause, but, maybe Dallas, but I think overall in Texas, especially at the border, which is well away from Dallas and Austin, I would like to see him get the welcome that he deserves. Let's just say that. He seems to get it everywhere he goes. So, I would like to see him get a good old fashioned Texas welcome there. And whatever. He's useless in that sense. So Biden's not even running the show. So I almost don't even pay attention when I see videos and clips and things like that about Biden. I just kind of scroll. I know that nothing that comes out of this man's mouth is meaningful. Nothing. He hasn't made a decision for this country since the minute he stepped into office. He's been demented from day one. Everybody knows it. We all see it, and we're all getting gaslit and pretending like somehow we all wonder who is running the country, right? Clearly it's not Kamala Harris. She couldn't run a public bathroom. So who exactly is running the country right now? It's those powerful people back east. That's who it is. It's those people, who are perpetuating the globalists back east, right? That have infiltrated our government. We elected them. Okay. We elected many of these people. And believe me, there's plenty of Democrats plenty of Republicans in that group too. We don't know who they are, but I guarantee you, if they all get exposed, it ain't going to be like a laundry list of Democrats. It's going to be a nice mixed bunch of frickers, and I'll make my point that day again. That it's all the same crap. They all don't like you. And the fact of the matter is, we should not even care. We don't need them to like us. That's not a requirement in the Republic, that they like us. What is a requirement is that they follow the Constitution. And right now, the Supreme Court has given them far more power than they should ever have. And let me see, do I have it in here? I do. So this right here, right? and I go through this as many times as it comes up because I want people to understand. I know there's a lot of people who don't know. If you look at that large book that says Constitution of the United States, that is the Constitution of the United States as far as the Supreme Court and the federal government is concerned. Now, as far as you and I are concerned, that smaller one leaning up against it, which is the pocket version, that's the Constitution. And when the Supreme Court goes to make a decision, which one of those books do you think they open up? You think they're opening up the pocket version? Gorsuch, maybe. Gorsuch, Alito, and Thomas, maybe. But I can tell you, Kavanaugh and Amy Barrett and the rest of the leftist dudes, they're looking at the big one. They're looking at the big one, and because the big one has all the previous Supreme Court decisions in it. And there's only one way to tear pages out of that thing. It's only one way. Do I have to shout it out what that way is? I think we all know. By now, if you're watching this show for any length of time, you know it's right here. That's the only way. Because once the court makes a decision and the government runs with this power that it's gotten, there's no stopping it. The only stopping it is us. Like, we go ahead and we put in an amendment saying, you know, I don't care if they write in it like the Supreme Court are a bunch of coconuts. Their ruling on this is dismissed. If it weren't to be embarrassing internationally, it would be great if they just cited the cases that were BS right there in the amendment, and we're like, these cases are never to be looked at again, unless you can get up the muster to pull off another convention to overturn this amendment. All of these decisions are hereby voided. Now, it would never be written that way, but the point of the matter is, effectively, that's how it works. That's how it works. And we have to go ahead. So I want to try and get through this because I know I got to the hour and I got to get off soon. So I was looking at the FDA as one of these regulatory organizations, and I thought to myself, I was kind of toggling back and forth. Number one, no, I don't think that they're necessary at all. I think the work is necessary. I just don't think we need a federal agent to do that, agency to do that. That can totally be handled by the states. But as I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at things, it occurred to me, some of the things the FDA approves. And the first thing that popped to my mind were drug commercials. So I'm looking at drug commercials, and I'm like, all right, you know, let me go look up some, because you know this, like they give you all the symptoms, right? And I'm like, let me see if some of the symptoms far outweigh the benefits. And I came across this in TVO. So I want you to just listen to this, watch this ad with me, and then listen for the key stinger in there. There's one that makes you, it's just funny, to be honest, because who would take this drug, and how would a drug with side effects like this get approved? But listen to one in particular side effect in this drug.
When you live with moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, your day can be full of reminders of your condition. Never knowing. Always wondering. You weren't made for UC or Crohn's, but gut-focused Entyvio is. Entyvio works at the site of the problem to block certain inflammation-causing cells from entering the gut. Infusion and serious allergic reactions can happen during or after treatment. Entyvio may increase risk of infection, which can be serious. Although unlikely, a risk of PML, a rare, serious, potentially fatal brain infection, cannot be ruled out. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, experience frequent infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Liver problems can occur with Entyvio. In clinical trials, Entyvio helped many people achieve long-term relief and remission. Ask your doctor about Entyvio. Entyvio, Entyvio, Entyvio.
Now, that is not a Pfizer gem. Entyvio is its own company. But did you catch the part with the, what is it called? PML. It's progressive. I'm gonna try and get this straight. PML, this is a side effect. All right. So You're looking to ease the symptoms, not cure Crohn's disease, right? You're looking to ease the symptoms of Crohn's disease. Now, to do that, okay, so you've got these symptoms, and I think it's some irritation and things like that. But now you have infusion or serious allergic reactions now you're susceptible to. It may increase the risk of infection, and here's the one: PML, progressive multifocal leukoencephalopathy. 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 I think I got that right. Which is a potentially fatal brain infection. Like, and they put it right, and the FDA looked at this and said, nah, there won't be too many people that get it. And of course, liver problems are on the list as well. You've got like 5 or 6 things, a few of which could be completely fatal, so that you can help ease some of the symptoms of the problem you have. This is what the FDA does for us. Now, I mean, CDC, they're done, right? We're done with the CDC. You can't, I mean, this is an organization. I mean, they go against themselves. They go against, right now, the CDC can actually be a really productive organization if they would just start telling the truth. It's just wild to me, and I don't know. It's one of those things, but when I saw that commercial, I just had to crack up. I'm like, this is what our regulatory agencies give us. And there's a laundry list, by the way. I went through a ton of these commercials, listening to the symptoms. I do that now when you see them come up on TV. Just let everything else dry out and just listen for the symptoms. And then look at what the drug helps you with. And it's like, why would I want to risk all of these things so that I can have that little bit of help? Right? But this is what the FDA is totally okay with, the potentially fatal brain infection, rare as it may be. They're completely okay. They think that still makes it okay. Like, if there's any, no matter how rare, if there's any side effect that's going to cause death and you're not about to die already, meaning, if you don't take something, you're going to die. So if you take this and there's a chance to save you, but it could also kill you, well, you're going to die. So now there's ethical questions and you can work it out. But if you're not about to die, why on earth would you want to take anything that could potentially give you a brain infection that would kill you? It just, another reason. And the FDA, and I could get into stories, by the way, about the inspection processes and things like that. Like, if y'all know the book The Jungle, like, that's what everybody uses. So this is why we need the FDA. Like, no, it's not. No, it's not. States can totally handle the inspection of food. Like, this is not a federal job. It's just not. Because especially in an age of information. Like, you think employees, if someone's finger gets cut off and goes into the meat grind and they don't you think employees are not going to blow the whistle on that in today's day and age? Like, this is not, the FDA wouldn't catch it anyway. When they come, the place is spotless. So it's just one of those things that make the case against regulatory organizations. They make laws without being elected. And that's the main crux of it. That's why they have to go. That's why there's no place for them, because the reality, and Gorsuch made this point well during the mandate overturn. I've said this before. Amy Barrett and Kavanaugh creeped me out with their decision, even though they did come down and say it was unconstitutional or couldn't be put in place. Was unconstitutional. But Amy Barrett and Kavanaugh's reason was that it was not written. Like, Congress didn't give them the authority to do this. Whereas Gorsuch's opinion was, I don't care if Congress tried to give him the authority to do this. Congress doesn't have the authority to give the authority to do this. and he was right. The bells went off there. He was following the pocket constitution, not the behemoth constitution, right? He was following the little guy, not the big guy, right? And so that was the only point that I wanted to make. And really, I wanted to make it in advocation for Article 5, as if I need to do something else to advocate for that. But, oh, by the way, guys, with this shirt, I tested the barcode scan, and it does take you to the petition page. So it's a pretty good conversation starter, as are all Article 5 T-shirts, I think. But the fact that you got the barcode right there, like boom, just scan it, is kind of cool. I was wondering if it was going to work on the shirt. I almost didn't do it, but then as soon as I got it, the first thing I did was scan, and it took you to the petition page. So you can reach the petition page by going to my website, thepatriotthinktank.com. Very first thing you see on the front page is the link to cause action. You can also go directly through conventionestates.com. So what I would encourage you to do is go to my page. On your way to pick up a shirt, you go ahead and you click there, or you go ahead and sign the petition, have that open on one screen, have my Etsy store on the other screen, and get yourself some pretty cool gear. Right? All right. So on that note, I have hit past the hours, so I want to go ahead and just thank everybody for stopping on today. I hope you appreciated my little rant earlier. Thank you, Bob, and all the rest of you for commenting throughout. I always love the engagement. Definitely for those watching in the future, if you're still with me, make sure that you let me know where you're watching from. I always like to hear that. All right. Other than that, guys, I'm out. We'll see you next week. Live free.